And you know what? How about Miami? De'Ara King injured as well. Miami also struggling. The question, Lugs, you banned it earlier, is Miami back? I think, at least for now, we don't have to ban it because we know the answer. How about Miami recruiting? Take a look at this. Over the last 5 seasons, the Hurricanes have finished in the top 4 of the ACC, according to the annual ESPN 300 recruiting rankings. Miami also has had 3 of those classes rank in the top 15 of the SBS in that span. So it's interesting. Both of these schools, both of these storied programs, Des, having issues. Some of them almost don't make sense. But let's start with Miami and what you're seeing from the Hurricanes.
I tell you what, Wendy, when I watch the Hurricanes play, there's such a lack of effort out there by guys. I'm not talking about just general basic effort. I'm talking about like championship effort. It's almost like these guys, they show up in Coral Gables and they just think that because this program is historically a strong program, that they're just going to fall into place and roll their helmets out there and be the Canes and be the U. It seems like they're more about the symbolism than substance. Things like the turnover chain. That was really cool for about a year and a half. But then after that, you guys got to get out there and start playing ball again and start to win games. So it seems like the thing is so much about symbolism, Lugs, as opposed to substance, and they're not living up to the expectations based on their stars, whether they're 4 stars or 5 stars in their recruiting classes.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. And it begs the question, why are kids going to Miami? Do they think that being a part of Miami's program is a fast track to the NFL? Is it because it's a symbol of individualism? Because it doesn't seem to me like these athletes, who are very good athletes, and were all recruited by a Florida, a Clemson, a Georgia, Alabama, it doesn't seem to me like they're going there for the pride of making the University of Miami a national championship program. You look at this turnover chain and all of this. I go back to the Miami-Alabama game the first week of the season, and they are getting thumped. They get a turnover, and they're running over, and they're hooting and hollering on the sideline about a stupid chain. Forget the chain. How about you start playing football to a championship level? That to me, you're so right. It's a lack of substance. It's style. It's all of this sort of thing. And when it comes to their current play, last week, 59 pass attempts, all right? 52 yards rushing for the Miami offense. I don't care who you're playing. That's not the recipe for success. And Des, they become a terrible football team on defense when it comes to tackling.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, guys, when I said it doesn't make sense, to some degree, I meant the recruiting. I mean, there are athletes. I mean, you can't throw a baseball and not hit one in Florida, for heaven's sake. And some of those guys are coming to these schools to play. So there is a disconnect somewhere. Take a look at what we see from Florida State with regards to recruiting, because again, we know that's the lifeblood of college football. The Seminoles have finished with a top 4 recruiting class in the ACC in 4 of the 5 last seasons. However, Florida State finished with the 7th best class in the conference this year, their lowest finish among ACC teams in the ESPN 300 era. And Lugs, listen, I'll ask you the same question, but this time about Florida State. What are the major issues here?
Well, you take a look at that graphic going all the way back to the 2017 recruiting class. The problem is, if you go do the math, nobody's still there. They've either been run off or dismissed, or they've entered the transfer portal. Very few of those players are either providing depth, or worse yet, are starters for the Florida State Seminoles right now. So Mike Norvell comes into this program, and he's got to put a Band-Aid on the Titanic. I mean, how are you supposed to be able to stop this type of sinking when you're going out in the transfer portal and you're trying to patchwork this thing together to come up with the full gamut of an 85-man roster? I think it interferes with your locker room, your team chemistry. They don't have any foundation. And that's one of the reasons why going forward, Des, they have no choice but to ride this thing out and hopefully salvage the 2022, 2023, and 2024 recruiting classes, so at least they have a foundation to build the program upon.
Lugs, man, you hit the nail on the head with the foundation. They have not yet built a foundation up there, so they don't have an identity. You're looking at a program without an identity. And don't forget, the Seminoles, they used to be one of the best teams in all of college football. You knew who they were. You knew what they were about. Mike Norvell, I believe, is a really good coach. But you can't tell by the product that's on the field. I mean, when you lose to Jacksonville State, in the way that they lost that game, it's inexcusable because you have better athletes on the field. I know you're a better coach than that. For them to give up that long touchdown at the end of the game to lose to Jacksonville State, I was like, man, this is really not only a testament on the coach, but more so, in my opinion, as a former player, when do you take the pride in yourself to produce a better product on the field every time you line up? That's, to me, what this is all about. You got to have pride in the uniform, but you also got to have pride in yourself and what you put on film for people to see.
And you know what, Daz, the coach can only do so much. He sets the tone, he builds a culture, but at some point, everybody on that field's got to look at themselves and say, you know what, it's gut check time.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.